Picture this. It's a quiet Thursday evening in Dhaka, Bangladesh. The city's winding down, and the staff at the country's central bank, they've all gone home for the weekend. But lurking in the digital shadows, a team of hackers is gearing up to launch one of the most unbelievable heists in modern history. What happens next is a true cyber ghost story. A crime so big, it almost worked. Let's break down exactly how they did it.
So let's just start with the number that sets the stage. This is what the hackers were after. And I mean, they weren't just aiming high, they were aiming for the stars. Their target was nearly $1 billion, just sitting there in the Bangladesh bank's account at the Federal Reserve in New York. And this is what they actually got away with, $81 million. Now, sure, it's just a fraction of their goal, but it still goes down in the books as one of the biggest, most successful cyberbank robberies ever. The story of how we get from that first number to this one, that's where things get really, really wild.
So you have to be wondering, how on earth did they even get inside a central bank's systems? Well, this wasn't some quick smash and grab job. No, this was a slow, methodical, year-long siege. And it all started with something you probably get in your inbox every single day.
That's right. The key to this billion-dollar attack was a job application. An employee at the bank gets an email. A resume's attached, they click on it to open it, and just like that, the digital Trojan horse was inside the gates.
And here's the crazy part. Their patience was incredible. For more than a year, that malware just sat there silently on the bank's network. It was watching, it was learning. The hackers were mapping out all the systems. And get this, months before the actual heist, they were already setting up their escape route, opening fake bank accounts in the Philippines that just lay dormant, waiting for the money.
Yeah, this was not amateur hour. These guys were using some seriously sophisticated tools. They had custom-built malware, that's malicious software, that let them be ghosts in the machine. They even had a keystroke logger that literally recorded every single password typed by the bank employees. But the real prize, the master key to the whole kingdom, was getting their hands on the Swift credentials. This kind of patience, these kinds of resources, it all points to a super-organized, state-sponsored group known as the Lazarus Group.
Okay, so what even is Swift? Well, think of it like the central nervous system for all the money in the world. It's this ultra-secure messaging network that banks use to send each other instructions for moving huge amounts of cash. I'm talking trillions of dollars a day. Breaking into Swift was thought to be pretty much impossible. It was a digital fortress, and these hackers had just stolen the master key.
So after a full year of preparation, everything was in place. The stage was set. The hackers just needed that perfect moment to pull the trigger, a moment when absolutely no one would be looking.
And their timing was just genius. They launched the attack on a Thursday night in Dhaka. Now in Bangladesh, that's the start of their weekend, but halfway across the globe in New York, it's still mid-morning on a very busy Thursday. So while all the bank staff in Bangladesh were at home kicking back, the Federal Reserve was wide awake and ready to process transactions. It was the perfect window. And then, boom. Using those stolen credentials, they just unleashed a storm of 35 different transfer requests, adding up to that $951 million target. All that money was pointed at those sleeper accounts they'd set up months before in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. And for the final, brilliant touch, their malware disabled the one physical machine that would have given them away, the printer that automatically spits out confirmations of these transfers. They made sure their crime would stay hidden for as long as possible.
I mean, at this point, everything is going perfectly for the thieves. The money is just pouring out. Hundreds of millions of dollars are about to disappear without a trace. And then, their meticulous, year-long, perfectly executed plan gets completely derailed by pure dumb luck. You know, the hackers had built this perfect digital machine for their crime. They accounted for cybersecurity, for time zones, even for bank holidays. But they totally forgot about one tiny, unpredictable little thing. Simple human error. This right here, one single typo. One of the transfers, a cool $20 million, was supposed to go to a company called the Shalika Foundation. But the hackers spelled it Fandation, F-A-N-D-A-T-I-O-N. That one wrong letter was enough for a routing bank to go, wait, what's this? And flag the transaction, sending a question back to Bangladesh. The first domino had just tipped over.
And as if a typo wasn't random enough, fate was about to throw another massive curveball. The whole plan was about to get hit by a second, even crazier stroke of pure chance.
You just can't make this up. The typo wasn't the only thing that went wrong for the hackers. It turns out those fake accounts in the Philippines were set up at a bank branch located on Jupiter Street. The word Jupiter in the transfer details automatically triggered a sanctions alert at the New York Fed. Why? Because of a completely unrelated Iranian shipping vessel that happened to have the same name. It was like a 1 in a million coincidence. Between the typo and the street name, alarms started blaring and the Fed slammed the brakes on the rest of the transfers, saving over $800 million.
So, the heist was stopped. But not before that $81 million had already slipped through the cracks. And when the dust finally settled on this insane crime, well, the financial world was never going to be quite the same.
Imagine being the staff in Dhaka. You come back into work on Monday morning, you find the printers busted, and then you check the accounts, and there's just a gaping hole where millions of dollars used to be. By then, it was way too late. The stolen $81 million was already in the Philippines, where it was being rapidly turned into cash and washed clean through the high-stakes gambling tables of Manila's casinos. It was a classic money laundering operation.
The fallout from this was just immense. I mean, digital crime has very, very real-world consequences. People lost their jobs, including the governor of the Bangladesh bank, who had to resign. The Philippine bank that was involved got hit with huge fines. But the biggest impact was global. This heist forced every major bank on the planet to take a hard look at its own security and completely shattered the myth that the SWIFT network was untouchable.
So, when all was said and done, what did the final scorecard look like? Well, of the almost $1 billion they tried to steal, 81 million got away. And of that money, only about 20 million or so was ever actually recovered. The rest of it? It just vanished into the criminal underworld.
The Bangladesh bank heist was a massive wake-up call for the entire world. It showed us how a few lines of clever code, a whole lot of patience, and one silly little typo can shake the entire global financial system to its core. And really, it leaves us with a pretty chilling thought. If a nation's central bank can be hit this hard, what about the banks that hold our money?